Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're your shortcut to getting genuinely well-informed, hopefully with a few surprises along the way.
Glad to be here.
Today, we're tackling a really important topic, autistic shutdowns. We want to unpack what they are, how they actually show up, and maybe most importantly, how we can all be better allies.
Absolutely. Creating more inclusive spaces is key.
Our deep dive today pulls from sources like Reframing Autism and a great piece by Dr. Tasha Oswald.
Really solid sources.
So have you ever felt like your brain just, hits a wall when things get too intense, like it just powers down?
I think everyone can relate to that feeling on some level.
Right. Well, for autistic individuals, this isn't just a feeling, it's something called a shutdown, a powerful, often misunderstood coping mechanism, and that's what we're diving into today.
Let's do it.
Okay, so to kick us off, what exactly is an autistic shutdown? What's going on there?
Well, think of it like this. The brain is trying to protect itself. It's basically a condition where an autistic person retreats from their surroundings.
Retreats how? Physically, mentally.
It can be both, really. It's
Yeah.
a coping mechanism, right? Triggered by an overload, maybe sensory, maybe emotional, or just exhaustion from too much processing. It fundamentally signals a mismatch between what the individual needs and what their environment is actually providing or demanding.
Okay, so it's protective.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It shields the nervous system from stimuli that have become overwhelming. So during a shutdown, a person might seem unresponsive, maybe very withdrawn, or just display extreme fatigue.
And is it something they choose to do?
That's interesting. It can be a conscious act of self-protection for some if they're really attuned to their warning signs, but often it's completely involuntary. The brain just kind of takes over.
Like flipping a switch.
Precisely, an automatic defense.
Okay, that makes sense. But, you hear other terms too, like meltdown or burnout. How does a shutdown fit in with those? Are they related, different?
They are related, often stemming from similar overload, but how they manifest is really different. And that's a crucial distinction we get from the sources. So a meltdown, that's an external expression of distress, often quite dramatic, very noticeable. Think of it like the system overheating and visibly struggling.
So outward signs.
Exactly. And it often gets misunderstood, sadly, as just a tantrum. But it's vital to understand it's a response to overload. It's neurological, not deliberate bad behavior.
Okay, so meltdown, external distress. What about shutdown then?
A shutdown is the opposite in many ways. It's internal. A much more muted reaction to that same intense overload or stress.
Muted. So less obvious.
Way less obvious. It's often overlooked or completely unnoticed by others because it lacks that outward drama. But for the person experiencing it, it's just as distressing, maybe even more so sometimes. It's like a silent emergency happening inside.
Wow, silent emergency. That's a powerful way to put it. One's an explosion, the other's an implosion, maybe.
It's a pretty good analogy, yeah. And then you've got burnout.
Ah, yes, burnout.
Yeah.
Different again.
Completely different category, really. Burnout isn't that immediate reaction like a shutdown or meltdown. It's a chronic state. We're talking weeks, months, even years sometimes. There was a 2020 study, ASPIRE, that characterized it by chronic exhaustion, a noticeable loss of skills, things the person could do before become difficult, and a much lower tolerance to stimuli.
Loss of skills. That sounds serious.
It is. And one participant described the sheer effort of navigating the world as accumulating psychic plaque, just this constant draining weight.
Psychic plaque.
Yeah. And a huge contributor to this, something the sources really highlight, is masking.
Masking. That's concealing your autism to try and fit in.
Exactly. And imagine the enormous mental energy that takes day in, day out. It's exhausting. So when someone's in burnout, they're not just tired, their skills might decline, and critically, they become way more susceptible to sensory overload.
So burnout makes shutdowns and meltdowns more likely.
Precisely. Their capacity to manage anxiety, to cope with stimuli, is just severely diminished. So burnout isn't just exhaustion, it's this state of heightened vulnerability. A lack of support can really trigger or worsen it, too.
That link between masking, burnout, and then the increased risk of shutdowns, that really clarifies things. Okay, so given shutdowns are often internal, quiet,
Yeah.
how can we recognize one? What should you look for?
Yeah, it's tricky because the signs are often subtle and very individual, but there are patterns. Physically, you might see excessive fatigue, maybe slowed movements, clumsiness even.
Like their body is slowing down.
Right, or they might become completely unresponsive. Speech might stop altogether.
Sure.
Maybe it's just reduced to one or two words. They might struggle to answer questions coherently.
Okay. What about emotionally or behaviorally?
Emotionally, they might seem detached, sort of distant, like they're looking through you. They might have trouble expressing how they feel or just seem unusually passive.
Passive, but not because they don't care.
Exactly. That's crucial. It's easy to misinterpret that passivity as apathy, but it's not. It's a coping mechanism. Their brain is conserving energy. Behaviorally, you might see withdrawal, pulling back from activities they normally enjoy, seeming less responsive to social cues, less interested in what's going on around them.
So pulling inwards.
Yeah, seeking out quieter, less stimulating places. And you might see an increase in self-soothing actions, what's often called stimming.
Stimming, like
What
rocking or hand flapping.
could be, yeah. Repetitive movements or sounds that help regulate their system when it's overloaded. It's a way to manage the internal chaos.
So no single sign guarantees it's a shutdown, but it's about looking at the whole picture, at the context.
Absolutely. These are indicators, not a diagnosis. You have to consider them in relation to the person's usual behavior and what's been happening recently.
What's interesting, too, is that while they can seem sudden, you mention warning signs sometimes.
Yes, the shutdown process itself is often automatic, almost involuntary. Many autistic people aren't fully aware it's happening as it happens.
Right.
But for some, there can be tells. A feeling of confusion, maybe, dissociation, like feeling disconnected, sudden intense fatigue that comes out of nowhere.
Like hitting a wall suddenly.
Yeah. Or maybe a tension headache, increased irritability or anger, feeling cut off or numb to emotions. Recognizing these early signs, if possible, can sometimes allow for intervention, like gently helping the person move to a quieter space before the full shutdown hits.
Proactive steps.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But even with warning signs, it's not a choice. Sometimes the shutdown is just inevitable. The system needs to reset.
That makes total sense. Okay, let's talk triggers then. If the system is getting overwhelmed, what are the common things that push it over the edge?
It's a really broad range, and again, super personal, but generally, high stress levels are a big one. Unmet needs like lack of sleep, hunger, not having downtime.
Just basic human needs not being met.
Yep. Disruptive environments are huge too. Work, school, even home if it's chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
Inconsistency, changes in routine. Those can be really destabilizing. Major life changes, obviously moving, new job, relationships, and co-occurring conditions like anxiety or depression play a big role. Even things like hormone changes or chronic pain.
So a lot of internal and external stressors. What about those sensory triggers you mentioned earlier?
Oh yeah, sensory triggers are probably the most common, or at least the most classically associated ones. Auditory is a big one. Loud machines, multiple people talking, certain music frequencies.
Yeah.
Tactile too. Clothing textures, that scratchy label. Unexpected touch.
Mm-hmm.
Visual overload, busy patterns, crowded supermarkets, bright or flickering lights.
Things many people wouldn't even notice.
Exactly. Olfactory strong smells, perfumes, food cooking, even gustatory strong flavors or textures in food or drinks. And input from movement, like car travel or too much exercise.
Wow, it really covers all the senses.
It does. And then there are cognitive triggers.
Cognitive, like thinking too much.
Sort of, yeah. It's when the brain gets overwhelmed with too much information to process simultaneously. Like, imagine being in that meeting again. Multiple people talking, complex diagrams, plus you're anxious about speaking and the lights are buzzing.
Okay, yeah, I can feel the stress just thinking about it.
Right. It's a cumulative load. And some research suggests autistic brains might not acclimatize or habituate to stimuli in the same way neurotypical brains might. That distress level stays high.
So the brain doesn't just get used to it?
It might not, no.
Yep.
So all these little things, plus the constant background effort of masking. It builds up that psychic plaque idea again. It wears down resilience, making shutdowns much more likely. Often the triggers for shutdowns are the same as for meltdowns. The response just depends on the individual and the circumstances.
That cumulative effect is so important to understand. Okay, so when a shutdown does happen, what are the impacts? It sounds like more than just feeling tired for a bit.
Oh, absolutely. The impacts are far-reaching and significant. Shutdowns are profoundly exhausting physically and mentally. They can dramatically affect daily life and, if frequent, really contribute to that chronic burnout state, or even depression.
How so? Emotionally?
Emotionally, yes. Repeated shutdowns can lead to intense stress, anxiety, feelings of isolation. Like, why does this keep happening to me? It can definitely worsen any existing mental health difficulties.
And physically. You mentioned fatigue.
Intense fatigue, yeah.
Yeah.
But also things like migraines, stomach issues, just overall physical exhaustion. Some people even report temporary difficulty with movement or feeling rooted to the spot.
Wow. And communication must be hugely affected.
Hugely. Verbal communication often becomes extremely difficult or impossible. Decision-making. Forget it. Even simple things like texting back can feel like climbing a mountain. Logical, coherent thought just goes offline for a while.
The system's offline.
Pretty much. Sensory processing gets dialed way up, too. Environments that were maybe tolerable before suddenly become completely overwhelming. Think grocery stores, public transport. Really challenging.
So everyday tasks become huge hurdles.
Massive hurdles. Routine things like cooking, cleaning, paying bills. They can feel insurmountable. It can impact parenting, social interactions, needing to leave gatherings abruptly can cause misunderstandings.
Work and school, too, I imagine.
Definitely. Focus, participation, even just being there physically becomes hard. Productivity drops, communication breaks down, and basic self-care, eating, showering, getting dressed can feel utterly burdensome.
It really sounds like a total system crash requiring a full reboot, affecting absolutely everything. But interestingly, you also said shutdowns can serve a purpose for neurodivergent mental health.
Yes, and this is a crucial reframing. Despite how debilitating they feel, shutdowns can be seen as a vital escape mechanism.
An escape.
An escape from the constant mental churn. Autistic minds are often incredibly active, categorizing, pattern-seeking, rehearsing social interactions, managing sensory input, and often constantly masking. That's hugely draining.
Right, the psychic plaque again.
Exactly. So a shutdown, while involuntary and often scary, provides a necessary break, a forced pause, a system reset. It's actually a valuable, if extreme, coping mechanism to prevent a complete meltdown or total system overload. It safeguards mental well-being by demanding rest.
So it's the brain saying, enough, I need to shut down to protect myself.
That's a great way to put it. It's a survival mechanism, even though it's a difficult one.
Which brings us to the really practical part. If you know someone who experiences shutdowns or you see someone heading towards one, what can you do? How can we be allies?
Okay, number one priority, safety and well-being.
Mm.
If you can, gently guide them to a calmer, less stimulating space. Quiet, maybe low lighting.
Gently.
Yes. And use a calm, reassuring tone yourself. Your calmness can be grounding. Crucially, respect their personal space. Don't touch them without asking. First touch can sometimes be overwhelming during a shutdown.
Good point. What about talking? Should you try to get them to talk?
Definitely not. Do not pressure them to talk or communicate.
Right.
Their capacity for that is likely offline. Forcing it just adds more pressure into CS.
So silence is okay.
Silence is often best. Their lack of response isn't personal. It isn't rudeness. It's their brain managing an overwhelming situation. The communication lines are down, basically.
Okay, that's the immediate response. What about longer-term support?
Long-term, it's about reducing exposure to known chronic stressors. If you know certain situations or environments are consistently triggering, can they be avoided or modified? If they can't be avoided, can you limit the duration? Can you help the person prepare? Maybe have tools ready like noise-canceling headphones, sunglasses, fidget toys, things to mitigate sensory overload.
Like a sensory toolkit.
Exactly. And if shutdowns keep happening in a specific setting, like work or school, that's a strong signal. The environment itself needs to change. It's not adaptable for that person. Remember the saltwater fish analogy?
Right, the fish needs the right water. It's not the fish's fault.
Precisely. The environment needs to be accommodating. Another proactive thing is helping the person practice stress management techniques, like deep breathing, but when they're calm and feel safe.
Why then?
Because trying a new technique during intense stress or a shutdown is unlikely to work. If it becomes an ingrained habit practiced in calm times, it's much more likely they can access it when they actually need it.
That makes sense. Build the muscle when you're not stressed. Now, the sources mentioned creating a personalized shutdown plan. That sounds really empowering.
It really is. And the key is creating it with the autistic person when they're feeling well.
What goes into a plan like that?
It could include identifying their specific early warning signs. What does it feel like for them just before a shutdown? It might involve setting up a designated safe space at home, maybe even at work or school is possible, where they know they can go. And crucially, devising alternative communication methods. Maybe pre-written cards, I need space, I can't talk right now.
Yes.
A specific hand signal, using a text-to-speech app, whatever works for them when verbal communication fails.
Like a backup communication system.
Exactly. The plan could even have a simple step-by-step list for triggering situations, like 1. Notice feeling X. 2. Go to safe space.
Yeah.
3. Use communication card. Something grounding.
That sounds incredibly helpful.
It provides immense relief and a sense of agency, of control or something that can feel very uncontrollable. It really boosts self-assurance. And importantly, communicate this plan to key people, family, close friends, maybe a manager or teacher, so they know how best to support.
Everyone was on the same page. What about after the shutdown?
And
Recovery.
recovery time varies hugely. Depends on the trigger, how intense it was, how quickly they got to safety. The best advice is usually to give them space to recover naturally. Often, being alone helps reduce stimulation. Once they start to emerge, figure out what helps them recover. Maybe it's engaging in a special interest, maybe it's stimming freely, maybe just a quiet, reassuring word, or perhaps a consensual hug if that's comforting for them. It's very individual.
This has been such an important deep dive. It really drives home that autistic shutdowns are, well, like you said, silent emergencies, profoundly impactful, but involuntary, not a choice.
Absolutely not a choice.
And the core message we really got from Reframing Autism and Dr. Oswald is this. Understanding and managing shutdowns isn't about trying to fix the autistic person. It's about creating a world that's more inclusive, more considerate of their needs.
That's the goal. And we can only get there through more awareness, better education, and just genuine empathy for how differently people experience the world. Supporting autistic people means acknowledging their unique neurology and working to enhance their well-being, not forcing them into a neurotypical mold.
It's about building a society where everyone has the space to thrive.
Exactly.
So here's something to think about as you go about your day. How might our environments, our expectations be unknowingly contributing to overwhelm for lots of people, not just autistic individuals? What small changes could you make, starting right where you are, to foster a bit more accommodation, a bit more understanding?
Great question to ponder.
Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.